A woman who was always encouraging others to speak up and fight against injustice would face the worst injustice of all. An innocent trip to the post office would lead to a murder. A man with seemingly no motive but to cause harm caused an outrage from the whole nation. Many began to protest. Am I next? You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on this video. I'm Brooke Makenna, but today's case is a super important one. It is another South African case, and it just speaks so much on the gender-based violence that they are facing over there as women, and just the movement that Uyinene Mrwetyana has begun. And I really want to share her story with all of you who may not have ever heard of it and of her and of the horrors happening to these women. I would also like to say that I have really tried my best with the pronunciations, but if I get it wrong, I deeply apologize. I am not trying to be disrespectful in any sort of way. I have tried to research, and I have found that especially with Uyinene's name, it is said many different ways by many different people, and I am just really trying my best, and I hope that I have gotten it right. So let's go ahead and get into the story. So it was 2019 in South Africa, and 19-year-old Uyinene Mrwetyana lived in Cape Town. She was actually born April 20th of 2000. She was the second child with an older brother, and as a child, her mother claimed that she was bubbly, but very stern in what she believed in, and that just followed her all the way from childhood to when she was 19. And in 2019, at 19, she was attending the University of Cape Town and was in her first year studying film and media. Uyinene had many different nicknames from her friends and family, and it's always said that when you have nicknames, you are very loved, and it just showed how much she was. Uyinene was said to be a very fierce activist who detested any form of social injustice, especially against women. Her mother said that she had a fighter spirit. She was an outspoken girl who pushed others, including her own mother, to speak up. She was extremely intelligent and organized, and her mother said that's just kind of how she always had been. Her brother said she was a no-nonsense, talking, forthright young lady, and that she would call him or their father out on patriarchal habits that they would have. And she would say, you need to practice what you preach, because they were very religious, and when their actions did not match their words, she let them know that. But her friends described her as empowered, confident, and very sure of herself. But at only 19 years old, a soul not afraid to fight against evil was taken by that evil for no reason. On Saturday, August 24th, 2019, she would head out of her home at Roscommon House, and she was going to be doing some errands in the suburb called Claremont, including picking up some packages at the local post office of some clothes she had ordered online and was really excited to get. And at 2:04 p.m., she was seen by CCTV footage getting out of a minibus taxi on that corner that was right next to the post office. It was across the street. But this is the last time that anyone would see Uyinene. When she was found to be missing, the search gathered quite a bit of media coverage, especially on social media, with the hashtag Bring Uyinene Home that was trending. And what people did not know at this time was that the police had actually gone into this post office and they had found blood. And they had also found blood on the shoe of the man working there. And he would be arrested Friday, which was 6 days after she had last been seen. It was found that her body was actually found 2 days after she had gone missing. However, she had been identified 9 days later, because that is when the killer confessed and her body was finally identified. She had been located in the neighboring town, left in a hole by unused railroad tracks. Though this news was heartbreaking, the horrific and gruesome nature of what would be uncovered would tear this community apart. You see, the Claremont post office was right next to a high school and a police station, a place that should have been safe. However, it was revealed that the post worker had confessed and told police exactly where her body was. And at this point, the public were informed of a few different things. They were told that Uyinene was there to pick up the package. However, when she did this, she was told by this killer that she would have to come back later because the credit card machine wasn't working due to the electricity being out. Now, this is something that happens a lot in South Africa, and so it was not something Uyinene was startled by, and so she was completely okay with this. She went to run a few more errands, and she was told to return at 2 p.m. Little did she know that the post office actually closed at 1, and that everyone would have gone home by then. Uyinene Mrwetyana arrived and was then murdered. Yet, like I said, this is not all that would be announced about that day, but this is all the public knew at this point. I think it's important to follow the story as the public did and really get their anger. They were not given a name at this point of the killer or a motive, and Uyinene's cause of death was revealed to be head injury or trauma to the head, but her funeral was said to be beautiful, full of friends and family. Her mother wrote a letter that was read aloud for her, and part of it read, "I'm sorry that I warned you about all other places, but not the post office. I'm sorry I was not there to fight for you. My girl, I love you, my girl." A letter from her father was also read, where he said he promised to carry her with him for as long as he lives.
I know we still had experiences to live through and memories to make together. I always pictured a future where I'd one day tell my children that I'm dropping them off at my sister's for the weekend. A future where we would one day grow old together and reflect on how far we had come. But I know you're in a better place, where there's no sickness, no anxiety, and no stress, but pure joy and peace. The one thing I will hold on to is that till your very last breath, you were fighting. And I'm sorry that I wasn't there to fight for you. I'm so proud of you. Your fight is now our fight.
The pretrial began on September 2nd, and that is when all evil would be unveiled. 42-year-old Uyinene Mrwetyana had come to court, and he was named the killer. The rest of his confession would prove that Uyinene had fought for her life that day. Everyone in the courtroom, and soon the whole country, would hear his confession of Uyinene being locked inside that post office, where she was then sexually assaulted. The killer told the police that she wouldn't stop screaming, and he attempted to strangle her, and then he took post office scales and would bludgeon her over the head. This is not where his chilling actions would end, nor is it all of it, but his exact words would be told to the court and would be documented by Times Live. And I'm going to read it for you now. He said, "I unlocked the front door and the deceased entered. When she entered the post office, we were alone in a locked post office. When the deceased searched her bag to pay the requisite custom fees, I started making sexual advances toward her. The deceased did not respond and looked scared. I grabbed her by the waist and forcibly pulled her closer to me." I'm not going to read the next few bits because I don't think it's necessary. She managed to run to the door, but I caught up with her and knocked her to the ground. I dragged the deceased to the safe inside the post office. I locked her up inside the safe. The deceased screamed while inside the safe. I choked the deceased and she fought back and kicked me. I took a weight used to weigh the packages received at the post office and used it to bludgeon the deceased to death. I targeted her head. I left the post office and consumed alcohol outside a nearby liquor outlet. I returned to the post office shortly thereafter. I covered the body of the deceased with cushions, a blanket, and a jersey as she lay in the safe. I returned to the post office in the early hours of Sunday, August 25th, 2019. The area where I attacked this deceased and where her body lay was covered in the blood of the deceased. I proceeded to clean up the inside of the post office to remove the blood from the scene. I waited until it was dark and requested the security officer who patrolled the outside perimeter of post office to allow me to park my motor vehicle in the yard of the post office. Once parked in the yard, I placed the body of the deceased in a large postal mail bag and carried her body to the motor vehicle. I transported the body of the deceased to a field and dumped it in a shallow hole. I then drove to a nearby petrol station and purchased petrol. I returned to where I disposed of the body of the deceased, doused her with petrol, and set her alight. I admit I did so to defeat or obstruct the course of justice by destroying evidence. I admit I hired someone to clean my car to destroy forensic evidence. Family members in attendance, including her parents and brother, were horrified. They broke down crying hearing this.
The family is deeply hurt, particularly that Uyinene was the favorite in the family. Uyi has been made a sacrificial lamb. You know, getting closer, idini. It's not only Uyinene. It's not only our family that is going through this process. There are many others in the same area in East London. You are aware that Juggles was shot by her former boyfriend. So, in fact, we are representing, Nene's funeral is quite a representative of what is happening in the country in general. Obviously, Uyinene's mother is deeply hurt, and in fact, there is no one who can actually empathize with her because we really don't know the pain she is feeling right now. However, because she believes in God, because she is a Christian, she has accepted all of this because she believes that this, in fact, is an act of God. Further, we want to believe that the outpouring that the country is feeling, the outpouring is going, in a certain sense, make government realize that a lot needs to be done in order to change the situation in the country. You know, what hurts us most is that the perpetrator is a known criminal, because we have been told that the perpetrator, in fact, has been convicted twice before. So naturally, one would want to ask, how was it possible for him to be absorbed by the South African system?
And it was also revealed that Uyinene had planned for this. He had told his coworker that they could head home early and he would deal with Uyinene by himself. He then misled the police, claiming that he never had a criminal record. Except he definitely did, because he had been found to be on a list of 300 post office employees flagged a year prior by the State Security Agency due to that record. Now, his record dated back to 1998 when he was charged with carjacking, and this was when he was 21. He was paroled after 4 years for this, and then in 2014, when he was 37, he was charged with a sex crime for chasing a woman in a hospital where he was seeing his own girlfriend. But this was another woman that he chased and tried to rape. This charge was never actually taken to court. And none of that, not even the flagging, had removed him from his job until the investigation of Uyinene's murder. The court also heard that 2 days after her disappearance and 4 days before he was arrested, Uyinene had tried to cover his tracks. It was uncovered that he had gone to the pet shop across the street from the post office, and he had asked them for their CCTV footage. His cover story was that he had left a generator outside the post office and it had been stolen. He wanted to see if they could see who had done it. The employees said he was very calm when they realized they actually couldn't see over to that area of the post office, and investigators found that it was true. They couldn't see a thing, including Uyinene walking to the post office and being carried out. When Uyinene was taken into the courtroom, he hid his face from the cameras, and everybody inside was yelling at him. They were enraged at his presence, and one phrase allegedly called out was, "You have killed her. You have killed us." There were said to be thousands at this point signing petitions to reinstate the death penalty for crimes against women. This crime truly angered a nation, and there were protests everywhere for gender-based violence, and the South African president actually attended as well.
I know what you're all going through.
I mean, I don't think men can sympathize, but I don't think they can ever understand the atrocities and the effects that it has on women and children in this country.
Speech he gave was about we're going to increase the protection of women, which I'm here for. But you should be addressing what the culprits are going to, what's going to happen to them. You should be talking about all the measures that you're putting in place for all the culprits.
We're not seeing results. He's just talking and we're not seeing results. And the crime statistics just keep going up. So
another thing, he's busy saying like he's going to start with the police, but how do you start with the police if the same people that you employed are the people who are turning us away when we come and say that we've been raped? It's the same people we trust to protect us are the same people that are raping and killing us.
Meghan Markle was also said to stop by the post office. She tied a yellow ribbon around the railing that said, "We're with you, sister." With the hashtag #AmINext trending, many women in South Africa were fearing for their lives. And the University of Cape Town that Uyinene was attending actually had to be shut down for 2 days due to the outcry. Those who were close to this or heard about it said that there was actually a shift of South African collective consciousness, that Uyinene had ignited a movement. Because this was not the first murder of a South African woman that month. There were a string of women who had been found just within the month. This was a month deemed Women's Month. But on August 3rd, 2019, Megan Kramer was killed, also in Cape Town. She was found with her hands tied and a rope around her neck, and a man named Jeremy Sias has been charged, and the trial is currently ongoing as far as I could tell. But now he is saying that he only confessed and showed where her body was because he was brutalized by the police. Another was 19-year-old Jessie Hess, who was killed in Cape Town along with her grandfather in that home the same week of Uyinene's murder. And she was the same age. She was in her first year of university. She was studying theology, but she would be found sexually assaulted, smothered, with a sock and a pillowcase in her mouth, and strangled by a belt. The most disturbing part, though, was they knew their killer. He was their relative, her second cousin. There's so much more to this case. If you would like me to cover the full story, I would love to. If any of these that we're speaking about, I cannot put their whole story in here, so if you would like me to cover the full story of any of these, please let me know. Another victim was 25-year-old Leandre Jaggles, who went by Baby Lee, who was a professional boxing champion. Baby Lee and her mother were on the road going to the boxing gym when they were stuck in traffic and were confronted by a man with a gun. Baby Lee was shot 3 times and killed by her estranged police officer boyfriend. Her mother was also shot, but did survive. This was on August 30th, and Baby Lee had a protection order against him. She would receive no justice, though, because moments after he killed them, he would get into a car crash where he would kill 2 more people. He would be sent to the hospital, and he would pass away too. These are just a few of the disturbing crimes that women in South Africa face every single day, just within that month. And I'm sure there are more I wasn't even able to find. But that November, Luana Botha pled guilty, and Uyinene's family had a heartbreaking letter for the court, which was read aloud for them.
Upon the realization that Uyi could not be reached, our worst fears crept in, and that initial trepidation has since developed into an ocean of emotions which have coalesced into agony. Annihilation of our princess has emphatically altered our collective being, as her voice, which was distinct, crisp, and filled with warmth and affection, is now gone. She has left an everlasting void. Her father is gutted and deeply saddened that he could not even view her body due to how badly damaged it was from the despicable act committed by the accused. He is left with an internally open wound, which has made it difficult to reconcile with this tragedy. We look beyond our loss as her death awakened a movement in South Africa and the world over. It is fact, though, that every day we are reminded that we are the biggest losers. We remember your beautiful, deep, husky voice with pleasure, and so imagine the voice when you bravely fought your perpetrator, denouncing the ill and evil he put you through. We have sleepless nights imagining the fear of being faced with a monster who presented himself to you as a trusted civil servant in a place that is viewed as a national asset to service the community. We are stuck with the question why? Why was it really necessary? The women of this country are not okay. Young girls are not okay. We are a bleeding country. It is painful a pain no parent should ever go through.
Uyinene showed no emotion when he was sentenced to life for murder and 2 life sentences for rape. South Africa is said to have the 4th highest female death rate linked to violence. The president promised to review laws and harden them for sexual offenses. He said that the violence levels are comparable to countries that are at war. And this is a war against women. But this is not all I want to talk to you about, because Uyinene's family has done a wonderful job at keeping her legacy alive and actually doing the work to get change for her. They have created a scholarship for female students at the college that she was at.
But I'm now joined by a student who is the first recipient of the Uyinene Mrwetyana scholarship.
More than anything, I feel honored and humbled. It's a huge responsibility to take on, but I feel that I'm ready. Social justice has always been my passion since high school. And in high school, I was head girl, so I stipulated what I did as a head girl, especially during the time of Uyinene's passing. Me and the other head leaders had done a demonstration in our school, and I spoke about the impact that had on me personally, because that affirmed my commitment to fighting against gender-based violence.
But the Uyinene Mrwetyana's foundation actually has a mantra that says, "Together in restoring humanity." Her mother's main goal is to keep her legacy alive, tell her story, and continue fighting. They focus on education, especially for children, about gender-based violence, and they also support the victims of it as well. But there is something that they do on their website that I think all of us can have a hand in helping them with. I know I believe you should be able to do it even if you're outside of South Africa, and you can do it online. So what they have on their website is something called Post Office to Parliament, where you can help them by writing a letter, which is kind of like a petition that is going to help get this to Parliament to demand the end of gender-based violence. You know, you can write your own letter saying what you would like, but part of their letter they have actually written on their website, and part of it reads, "We, the people of South Africa, call upon our government to take meaningful action against gender-based violence. We shall not rest until we have won for our children their fundamental rights of freedom, justice, and security."
All of these letters will be submitted to the Parliament and will be collected from the Claremont Post Office. And as the first recipient, it's important for me to be involved. Gender-based violence is a wider societal issue, and I think by starting in our countries, we need to understand that it doesn't necessarily end here in South Africa. We need to use international organizations.
It is so important for us to find ways to help out, to spread the word, because they shouldn't have to be going through this alone, and this shouldn't still be happening.
We are commemorating 2 years of the tragic, brutal death of Uyinene. 2 years later, 2021, we are still mourning more women that are being murdered by the hands of men and GBVF. 2 years later is long enough. And so I will take this petition, I will hand it in to the Speaker of Parliament, as well as the Committee of Women, Youth, Persons with Disabilities. I will make sure that we deliberate on it, we write a report on it, and we speak about it in Parliament, because that is where the change needs to happen.
Uyinene's mother has said that it is ironic that she was taken away through something that she really detested and advocated against. But she says that the fight starts in every space with small actions. Uyinene's friend has said that Uyinene would have been doing this kind of work if she would have gotten the chance to, and that she would be so proud that her mother is doing so. So I really just want to send so much support their way. Something has to change, and I think Uyinene and her movement is the perfect way to get that change. I did not know Uyinene Mrwetyana, but after hearing about her, I wish I did. And I hope you feel the same, and I hope you send her and her family so much love in the comments below. And I just want her family to know that there is support behind them. There are people who still hear her story. There are people who still know about her and adore her and are learning about her every day. A whole nation was outraged for Uyinene Mrwetyana, and I hope that you feel that same anger as well, because it means you're listening. Please let me know if there is anything that I can do. If you are South African, if you know of any ways to help, I would really love to be able to do more, to share how to do more. So don't ever forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces.